Hey there, I'm Tam.
And I'm eternally mortal.
And this is the Hidden Egg Podcast, where we talk about vulnerability.
Hell yeah. Welcome back to the podcast.
It took me a minute.
Yeah, but we got there. No worries. There can be a little bit of silence after the boo. Welcome back, party peoples. We're happy to have you in our new kind of format that we're going to play with starting today. Maybe starting last week? I think starting last week.
Yeah, I technically...
we just talked about shit last week.
I technically titled last week's Season 3, Episode 1.
Right.
So this is technically Episode 2.
So we're on our new, possibly meandering, just talking about shit.
Yeah.
Season again.
Yeah, actually, before we get started on... Because, we were talking about stuff in the pre-game.
Sure.
There was a thing... How do I get out of this without getting out of this?
We're still in it.
Was it general? Was it announcement? No, it's promo sharing. Ben Ulanzi.
I did see this. Mm-hmm.
So he said,
Ben.
Hi Ben, by the way. He said that season 1 felt to him more like something that he couldn't find anywhere else, like that nobody else was really doing. And that it was in a niche of its own. And I was thinking, like, I know that last week, and I really like the idea that we came up with of doing sort of like a last week tonight kind of feel, like a night talk show kind of deal. But I want to make sure that it's understood that, like, it needs to have the vulnerability focus.
Yeah.
Everything about it is still going to have that vulnerability. So I think a lot of what made season 1 really nice for people is that we were being vulnerable about ourselves. And then we kind of told stories about our own vulnerability that people don't like to tell because that's vulnerable and it hurts.
Well, we also, did a lot of the interaction with the consumer, and we, thought about through our own vulnerability what we read and what we heard, Right.
Now, the thing I want to take away that I don't want to repeat in season 1 is the planning.
Right.
The idea that I needed to plan out the topic for each week, for it to have a sort of script to go by, not technically a script, but like some notes and stuff. Like, I'm taking all that out. I don't want to do that. It was too much work for me to put into the thing. I know that other people put that work in, and it makes their shows amazing, and maybe it'll make our show shit because I don't put it in. It's too much.
Okay.
Right now.
All right. Can we spitball about that and talk about different aspects of it?
Sure.
Is that okay to do?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of putting you on the spot since we're recording, but
how dare you?
I know, right?
It's so vulnerable.
Okay, so if we're considering doing a free-form talk about, maybe I'm getting ahead of us. You tell me if you were getting there where I'm going. Sorry, too many disclaimers.
Yeah, I haven't heard the thing yet.
Anyway, I'm sorry. I feel so silly now. I went too far with it.
Are you gonna say the thing?
I'm gonna try. My anxiety's hitting me. The possibility exists that if we just talk about how we've felt through the week, the things that have affected us, and be vulnerable about that it will be a little bit easier to challenge us on certain things. That might be one of the things that maybe held us back from this, because if we did the pre-planned content like we were doing in season 1, then it was pretty specifically focused. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then with the reaction content, it was also pretty specifically focused. To make it a more general focus, I guess maybe I should just say that there's a slight concern that popped up in my head that might be dismissible, that it's that we're going to be a little bit more open to people disagreeing with us and having something to say about it. I think
that's actually part of the charm, is that our vulnerability is our subjective experience, and that it doesn't have to supplant anybody else's reality.
I hope so, because I never want to supplant anyone else's reality.
And I feel like the challengeability is actually the benefit. It's a feature, not a bug.
Okay, cool. Cool.
While that might be difficult for us in certain cases where people do challenge us in a way that affects us in our mental health, that is also for us to figure out how to navigate and then share how we navigated it.
And I will be doing that because, as you know, and as the listener will come to know, I overshare.
Now, one thing I'm trying to do lately, I'm really tired of every time we come back to these, I'm just clearing my throat through half of the damn thing. It's really frustrating, especially when I listen to it again in editing. And I don't edit a whole lot, but I did have to edit last week's. First off, because of that weird noise thing that I don't know what it was. And it doesn't seem to be in the tests today, so I'm hoping it's not in the post.
Cross your fingers.
Cross my fingers. But I also I felt the need at certain places to edit out like superfluous coughing and throat clearing that was happening with nothing around it. It was there and it was just all over the place. And I just do it so much. And I know why, if anybody is concerned about me. It's acid reflux. Like acid reflux and allergies cause like this postnasal drip thing that causes mucus in my throat. It's really gross. It's not fun. But it basically happens every time I eat. And it's literally anything. I don't have to eat anything specific. It's just I eat something and it happens. It started happening. I thought that maybe not eating today before the podcast, I'm super hungry right now. I thought that it would work, but I had to take my morning pills. My morning pills do it.
Yeah.
So I'm drinking tea now. I'm hoping that maybe the tea will help clear that and maybe make it to where I don't have to do that as often.
This is actually if you start to experiment with different ways to help with that, even people that don't have acid reflux struggle with being able to work with their mouth sounds during recording for like via voiceover and stuff like that. So, feel free to share your experiences through that.
Well, I mean, I figured it's part of the vulnerability and everything. So, yeah.
I know. I only say that because, and I'm sorry to get a little deep here, but I think that might be a little embarrassing for you. Like it personally, feels embarrassing to have people have to listen to it. And I totally understand. I mean, I kind of understand because I don't release anything out into the public. You release my voice.
You're not the one that's doing this stuff.
When I listen to my recordings for Dark Deity, which I'll eventually release, there's a lot of, when I was a lot heavier, there was a lot of nasally breathing through a lot of the recording. And I don't know how much it is now. I think it's less. I think that it's less now that I'm slimmer and I don't smoke.
Probably.
But I don't know that for sure because I haven't really recorded myself recently and I haven't listened to the recent stuff like that. But it can be totally embarrassing. But I don't know that it's a negative experience for other people. Do you know what I mean? Like hearing the realities of a physical being is embarrassing for the first person, but for the third person, I think or the second person, I think is. It's
really interesting that you say
comforting.
That. Because I have that Tam Reads podcast, and I do a lot of editing on that one. I try to make it, kind of post worthy, like, people can
as clean
come.
As possible.
Yeah, make it a clean recording and everything. So sometimes I will leave my inhalations in because it's comforting, and if you don't have any in there, it gets really like in the back of your head disconcerting. Like you don't realize what about this is kind of off, kind of disconcerting. But I've learned over time that like you need to keep some of them in. But some of them I edit out because they're just too loud.
Sure.
They're too intrusive and they take away from the storytelling. So I've even gone so far, this is a little embarrassing, I've gone so far as to keep the inhalation in, but I edit the noise quality. So like I fade in so it's not so loud at the start.
Uh-huh.
And sometimes I'll like do a short fade out. Not as long as the fade in, but I'll do a short fade out so that it doesn't end as abruptly. Because sometimes, you know what I mean? Like,
I love that you're playing with it. That's amazing. It's a fun tool to play with. And
yeah.
That's good that you're playing with it. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
And you're playing with your own voice.
Right.
Which is also delightful.
So I don't know. That's one of those weird things that like maybe nobody needs to know about it. But hey, we're a vulnerability podcast, so I'm putting it in there.
Yeah. Can I take a hard left turn and talk about something completely unrelated?
Please do, because I put chapters in, so any breaks that we have that are like hard rights, that's a new chapter. It's amazing.
Okay, but it's kind of talking about something we were already kind of talking about because, it's a vulnerability podcast, and we're going to just be talking about stuff, and sometimes, like, what happened to us throughout the week, and we're being vulnerable about. And sometimes it's going to have to do with current events. We're going to have been affected by things happening in the world that have sides that are established and stuff like that.
Right.
But it's a vulnerability podcast, and so it's just... We're just relaying how we feel about the situation, and we're just fallible humans. You know what I mean? So, like, we could be wrong about something totally, and it's...
We might be wrong about everything.
Absolutely. I don't like to take hard stances on stuff. I tend to like to believe that anything could happen at any time. Like, I don't have guarantees that the sun's coming up tomorrow, and I'm okay with that. I'll see what happens when we get there.
Scientifically it's sound enough to rely on that the sun is literally going to rise in the sky. But the idea of the sun coming up tomorrow could also mean you may not rise tomorrow to see it.
Right, absolutely.
So, like, that's not guaranteed to you. Totally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, where are we going with this?
Oh, I don't know. I was just talking about how, I guess I was still stuck on the I'm a little concerned that I'm going to offend people. That's really all it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Remember when we had the idea that I was going to do some sort of like blog that was, or vlog or whatever, that was like, have I offended you yet?
Yes.
Who was that mortal? I
don't know. I missed that. I really wish that you had actually done something with that.
I can't even imagine it now, like in a certain regard, like, because I'm not trying to offend anybody.
I think I still, let me see. I think I still might have that website. I thought, what? Goda. No, that's not. Fine. I'll write the whole thing in. I refuse to put God for the for GoDaddy, because like the first 3 letters are God on that, and I refuse for that to be what I put in for the autofill.
Sure.
I always have to do Goda, but apparently Goda is not working so great. What the fuck? I haven't been here in a while.
Yeah, that's okay. Do you want to look at this now?
Yeah, I want to see if have I offended you yet? Because I used to have the website. Remember?
I remember. Yeah.
And I don't know if I still have it or not. No, I don't have it anymore. Sigh. Somebody might take it now.
That's okay.
But yeah, we used to have that as your website. You were gonna.
I really was gonna.
You were gonna do it, but then you didn't.
And then I didn't.
And that's okay, because you figured out that's probably not something you wanted to do. At least not at that time.
Yeah, I wonder if I can try and regurgitate the original idea for that to be able to, get something out of it. I don't know if I need to get something out of it.
You mean cannibalize? Regurgitate is throw up.
Yeah, I know it's throw up. That's what I mean. Take something from the past and relook at it. Yeah, it's a silly way of phrasing
I use cannibalize in that place because it's like you're taking something that already existed and taking the pieces that you want out of it, consuming them, and then creating something different.
Cannibalize seems silly to me on that as well, but it's okay. It's totally
because it's being eaten. The old idea is not going to happen. It's
but not completely.
It's going to be eaten.
You're only harvesting bits of it. It's more like you're hunting it for bits.
Do you eat cow brain?
I don't. How dare you?
Well,
why? I don't understand.
Then you're only eating bits of the cow.
Well, yeah, I know, but like
you're not eating the bones.
Aren't the
you're not eating the feathers of the chicken. Like, there's a lot of stuff you're not eating.
Yeah, definitely.
So that
I'm a piece of shit though. Like,
And I call it cannibalizing because it's coming from you, so it's technically you're eating part of yourself.
I'm not trying to attack you by attacking your use of the word. I was just trying to say that, like, you know, as you see the word that I use is possibly not as effective.
Oh, because the word regurgitate just means, like, it's just coming back up. Like, it...
Right.
It doesn't imply that there's any reanalysis of, like, you're not going to dig through your vomit. This is a cheery conversation, by the way.
It's fantastic. I adore it deeply. But yes, in this context, I was planning to make that implication that I was going to be digging through my vomit.
It's really gross to think about that. I'm sorry. So I just don't like that word. But you can use whatever word you want.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Don't like it.
That's totally fine. Absolutely.
Anyway.
I love words. I could go on, and if you'd like me to, I will.
Yeah, we were talking about something before we started the thing in the pregame. What the hell were we talking about?
Oh, the pregame.
Oh, the way our voices sound.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And you said something about that's an I take self-awareness to a new level or something.
Your journey. I don't blame you for it. I don't think that you jumped into this pool and you're like, this is the direction that you're pioneering a path through. I think that somehow your fated journey, if that's a thing, just drags you through different levels of self-awareness in a very deep fashion to where you must know yourself clearly.
Yeah, and for the people that are, you know, listening to this part and not the pregame part on Patreon, that came about because I said that when you record yourself more, well, when I record myself more, I actually now can hear the quality of my voice in real time that other people are going to hear. And the other parts of my voice that exist that other people don't get to hear, they're still there, but they're muted. They're not muted, like they're still there, but they're like lower. It's weird. It's like this overlay where it's like I can hear myself as I hear myself. But louder than that is the qualities that I know other people are hearing.
Right.
And then you said all of that. And what I was thinking before we recorded, because I didn't want to say it without...
Oh, yeah. It's ready for a full episode.
Yeah,
right. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Was that, like the face thing... doing a video with my face that is on that same journey. It is enormous. It feels insurmountable right now, and it obviously is currently insurmountable because I have not yet been able to just sit down and record myself with my face.
Right.
Because I know from the journey with my voice and the journey with my gameplay and my voice that this is gonna be a thing. Like, it's gonna take me to some places where I go to really dark places where I'll probably hate on myself for some things, I'll shame myself for some things, and then eventually I'll get to a place of acceptance of, you know, where I'm at. You know how people hate their voice?
Yeah.
Especially their recorded voice? I don't hate my voice.
Cool.
Anymore.
Yeah. I was gonna say, that wasn't always the case.
No, it was not always the case. In fact, the first ever recording that I remember doing that I was like, oh my god, I hate my fucking voice, was I was having, it was in that like week or two of like nirvana during my meditation. You remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to give myself something to remember me by, which sounds weird, but you get what I mean.
I totally get it.
And it was that, I don't even know what happened to the recording. It's gone. It's like lost to time. But I remember it started out, I am everything, I am all that is and will ever be. Like, I was like talking to myself from a place from like infinite peace and love and everything. Like, I basically was in the realm of like God with me and everything.
Right. You were hanging out with the infinite.
Right. And I remember listening to it later, like just a few weeks to a couple months later, and just being like, this is some narcissistic cringe bullshit. Why did I do this? And then I forgot about it. I don't know what happened to it, where it's at. It just ran away because and just listening to my voice with it, I was like, my voice is horrible. I know that all of this is a bunch of bullshit. I don't know why I thought that it was ever true. Like, really, really pounding home, like, how different it was of a time.
Yeah.
But I've come a long way since then to where I actually don't mind my voice. I don't know that I did say that I enjoy my voice, but I can feel the enjoyable qualities of my voice.
That's cool.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I assume I'll have a similar journey with the face.
Probably.
And anybody who does like face videos, I assume they have some similar like progress, like journey, where they have to, especially if they're not editing their own videos, then they probably don't. But if they're editing their own videos, oh my god, just the idea of looking at my face, it just feels like a lot.
You understand that there are an enormous number of like YouTubers that their whole content is just their face.
I know, but do they edit their own videos?
They all started editing their own videos, I'm almost certain.
And why aren't they talking about the journey that they've had looking at their own face for hours on end in post?
Yeah, I know. Whoever turned into Twitch streamers, some of them certainly talked about that, because a lot of Twitch streaming is just talking about what your life is, and for a lot of Twitch streamers, it's content.
Yeah, but with Twitch, you don't edit your videos; you just record them.
Well, some edit some of their shit to put on YouTube, but yes, Twitch is just all fucking like out there.
Yeah, so you don't have to deal with that on Twitch.
Right. So, but we lose so much content on Twitch. Like, there's so much amazing shit that happens that no one ever sees.
Can somebody explain to me why Twitch decided that after 2 weeks it has to be deleted?
I just think that they can't handle having,
is it the hosting? Yeah, that does make sense.
I just think that it's just too much data for them to maintain, but I haven't looked into it.
No, that's a fair point. So, a lot of data. If Google didn't own YouTube, I don't think they'd be able to handle the sheer volume of videos on there right now.
Right.
Google, Big Daddy, fucking AI overlord, has all the data all the time, everywhere.
I assume. We don't know for that for sure either.
We do, actually. There's like 3 different redundancy places. They've got like one in Brazil. I don't remember where all the places are at, but I do remember that there was some publicized thing where Google has buildings of like, I don't know what's beyond a terabyte, but like 2 levels of magnitude above that.
I used to know.
There's like
I forgot.
Buildings filled with basically just storage drives, that there's 3 of them, and all the information that they store is in those things 3 times.
Yeah,
because that's you have to, because if one fails, then you have the other 2.
It kind of just boggles my mind that all of the information on the internet still has to have a physical representation somewhere.
What? Where would it? How? I'm struggling to understand how you've divorced the physical from it. Like, even when you imagine, you're imagining that shit in your brain.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It has a physical representation.
Sure.
So, like, what? How do you think it works?
I don't know that I can explain this to you. We could just go with I'm silly.
You are silly, but I am genuinely curious how you have logicked out in your mind that this is supposed to work without a physical database of that's holding on to the information. Excuse me. It's all that tea.
Yeah. I don't think it's okay, this is probably like close-minded of me or like Republican of me, but like, I don't think it's possible that everything on the internet you could point to where it is stored physically. Now, maybe that's just maybe that is kind of still likely because like we couldn't know that this one web page that was made in 2002 that's never been touched since, that still exists on the internet that you can find but hasn't been looked at in 20 years, is on this specific hard drive in this specific building. Like, I don't know if that's a thing.
I think you probably could if you were one of the places that was storing it. So the information isn't just in one place. That's what makes the internet great. Every web crawler, like Google is a web crawler, has a copy of every website on their servers. And that information gets refreshed whenever the data gets refreshed by the servers that are actually hosting those websites. But each web crawler, so Bing, is Yahoo and Bing the same thing? I don't know if they are or not.
They were different. I don't know if they are.
Well,
still
whatever.
different.
If they're different, then whatever. But and Google and whatever else is out there, because to be honest with you, I don't know how many others are out there. There's a fair amount now, but they're mostly tiny in comparison to Bing and Google. So so Bing and Google, they have their own like reserve spaces where it may not necessarily index the entire site every time it goes there, but it can. And I don't know what determines whether or not it indexes the entire site, but basically indexing the site is copying what's on the site to their servers so that it's quicker to bring up in a search result.
Gotcha.
That's why search results are super fast now.
Okay, I'm having an issue. I have to go to the bathroom. Can we pause?
Yes, we can pause.
Okay. Apologies for the pause, although it won't affect you at all, viewer. And we're back.
Yeah, see? It was like no time at all.
No time at all. Nothing happened. What were we talking about?
Actually, I was just going to move on. There's more to say in another thing. But
But we're probably like halfway into this episode.
We're not a tech podcast, so
no.
I'm sure that everything that I said was probably cringe to somebody who knows way more than I do.
Yeah, and that's why we do this, because it's a vulnerability podcast.
Right.
So we can say anything.
We can say anything.
Anyway, but we're probably like halfway through this podcast episode, and
yeah.
I don't know if you had like a major topic you wanted to talk about that affected you this week.
And I feel bad about it because I feel like I've talked so goddamn much already, but you wanted to talk and like poke holes about my anxiety about my upcoming trip. And I don't know if you still want to do that or if you want to talk about you.
Wait, I wanted to poke holes?
No, I mean, those are my words, not yours.
I just wanted to see if you wanted to talk about how you felt about, getting this done along with everything else when you're going to be out of town for a couple of days. This
is actually kind of comforting, doing this. Thinking about the trip is filling me with anxiety and dread. But, everything else is fine. But I've been really focused on trying to get stuff done so that when I come back, I can fall apart. For like a day or two and like literally just not worry about anything.
Do we want to go, because this is your privacy as well kind of at stake here, but we want to go into what this trip is about, or do we want to just because you're gonna collapse after the trip,
right? Well,
is
I'm not
because
telling
of the trip.
I'm not telling people where I'm going. If you know me, you already know where I'm going. But I will say that it's for a memorial service.
Right.
Somebody died.
And that's going to be hard to go through, which is why you need to collapse at the end.
Right. And let's be clear, it's not necessarily because I'm like grieving about this. Because the truth be told, I mean, I cared about the person that it's the memorial service of, but I wasn't super close to them.
Sure.
But the other people that were really close to them, I am close to. So it's, going to be a lot of people that I care about grieving and me just trying to be there for them and trying not to get swallowed by the sea of grief.
Absolutely.
And craziness.
It's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be heavy at least.
It's at least. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these are people I don't really talk to on a daily basis either, so I don't like talking about myself, and so I'm going to go tangential here. I don't like hashing out any difficulties in a relationship when there's another event going on. So like we had that one mutual friend that I had like bad beef with, and they thought that it was a great idea to try to come up to me during a convention.
Yeah.
And we're good, right? Like I was literally talking to somebody when they burst into the conversation, and then what am I supposed to say? Like, I'm busy. I don't want a fucking conversation with you. I didn't consent to talking to you in this instance to begin with. So like, no, we're not really cool, but I'll tell you we are, because that will make you go away.
Right.
This is not the place for that kind of thing. So I kind of like coming back to the memorial service. It's kind of the same thing. Like I'm there for a purpose. I'm there to be there for these people that I care about. I'm not there to air grievances. And I'm not there to smooth over the relationships or like start up friendships. Like that's not my aim. And I have a feeling that at least one person is going to feel like that's appropriate to do in this time.
Right. And well, social shit, it'd just be difficult, to navigate.
Oh my god.
It's just a never-ending minefield.
But if I'm being fully honest, like the majority of my anxiety about it at this point is just that I'm afraid I'm going to crash and burn in the plane.
Yeah, I understand. So, in a way, if you survive getting there, then the hardest part will be over.
And back.
Well,
it's a plane ride both ways.
Right, but still, kind of the hardest part's over when you get there for a little bit until you have to come back.
Right. Those, 50% will be done.
Yeah.
Well, 40%.
It's
and then the other 40% will be the
in between those two bits, though. Like that's gonna be easy, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not gonna be easy, but I mean, I'll live through it. The anxiety that I feel about that in between time when I'll be there with all these people, like. It's anxiety that I know that I've lived through. And I know that I will live through it. And whatever happens, that's why I'm clearing my schedule for, a couple of days when I return, is so that I can deal with that.
If you need to.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
And that's a great idea. That's very wise of you to do. Absolutely. Take care of yourselves like that, audience.
I just hope that a couple of days is enough time, to be honest. I don't know.
Yeah.
Might not.
Just got to give yourself grace. And, also be prepared for maybe you don't need it. Maybe you are well adjusted through the whole thing and you're ready to go.
Wouldn't that be nice?
But, nothing to bank on.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about it. I mean...
Yeah.
Although I can share some stuff that I came through with the EMDR visit yesterday.
Oh, if you want to, sure.
But we can move on to your stuff if you want.
I don't...
You don't want to?
Well, I'm not really the sort that, like, pushes to get my stuff talked about. So I don't know that... Because, like, I could talk about stuff, certainly, but it all seems weird, probably. Like, when I look at my own stuff through the lens of someone that is not me, I look at it and I'm like, that's kind of weird, bro. But,
Some of the stuff is kind of weird, bro.
I know. I don't want to upset people with it. I can struggle with weird shit.
Why does it have to upset people when it's just weird? Like, couldn't it just be weird and not upset people?
I would like to think so, but there's been a lot of people that have been upset by the stuff that
Let's talk about that. What is it? What is it that you have to talk about that could be weird and upsetting?
Well, I don't know. Anything that I say could be weird.
No, come up with something. You obviously have something in mind that you could talk about.
Okay, well, like, one of the things I've been dealing with over the past week is that I don't have my computer. Like, the computer that I've been using for the past, like...
I keep forgetting about that.
6 years or so is currently down due to a cooling issue with the CPU. That is far beyond my technical skill, and our resident technomancer has it on the list.
Yeah, there were other things that needed to happen. There's a lot of other things that happen.
I'm not at all impatient about it. I'm really just trying to kind of come to terms with who I am without that device that's been in my life for a long time. It's almost in a way like a pet.
I wasn't saying that other things needed to come first for your benefit. I was saying that for the listener. Because the listener
Sure.
doesn't know.
I wasn't trying to step on what you were
was
saying.
happening.
There was no
in our
reason
lives.
for me to try and step on what you were saying. I'm so sorry.
No, I was just letting you know that it wasn't about you.
Cool.
But yeah, I keep forgetting that your computer is down because you have a laptop that you've hooked up to the same monitor and everything. So from my end, it looks the same visually,
Yeah.
more or less. But like I know functionally, it's not at all.
Like I there's a lot of stuff on my computer that I can't access. Like I had just got done watching all of my recordings of Dark Deity, and I was doing that to build myself up to start recording again. And the weekend that I wanted to start recording was the weekend that it died.
It was literally the same moment. You were just about to go do that, weren't you? I could have sworn that you had told us that you were leaving to go record, and then you came back into the living room and was like, "Yeah, my computer's not turning on."
It was making a noise.
Or is making a noise.
It was just making a noise. But I don't want to get into the specifics of what actually happened to my computer. But yeah, it was the same weekend. I don't know if it was the same moment. It might have been the same moment. I don't remember. But I can't even go back and look at any of that data. I can't do any of that. And the laptop I have is like got a quarter of the functionality of the computer that I was using. So like, I can't really do clips on Twitch or. It struggled to have two streams yesterday when both of my favorite Twitch streamers decided to go live at relatively the same time yesterday. Damn it. I had both those Twitch streams up on my laptop and it struggled with that. But damn it, I wasn't going to not be there for my favorite Twitch streamers.
Well, I mean, you do have a phone, so you can have one on your phone, one on your laptop.
That's true. I could have, if necessary, if it had struggled to the point where it couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
It continually does push through and show me that it can handle more than I think it can, but everything is slow. Like pulling up just a web browser at all.
Yeah, at this point, I'm surprised you haven't started playing Wandering Willows.
I don't know that my computer could handle that one yet.
That was the computer that you played it on the first time.
Yeah.
Wandering Willows is super old.
I know,
It's like
but
from 2012.
you remember I was playing Cute Knight, right?
Yeah.
I'm now on
Same time period.
I'm now on Governor of Poker, but
Governor of Poker actually is more
visually
more consuming, more energy consuming than
Cute
Wandering
Knight,
Willows.
not Wandering Willows.
Yeah,
Wandering Willows was beautiful. It was
beautiful.
The visual,
You're right.
the graphics alone had to have taken long.
But the amount of math it has
process.
to do in the background, I don't think is the same as Texas. The hell is it? Governor of Poker.
Maybe, but I still think
Because you have like in the poker part, you have like there's the math of the cards. You're looking at me like that, but then there's also like the different animations of people, and them randomizing like what they're saying and how their movements, coincide. Like that's a lot more RAM intensive stuff, I would think, than anything Wandering Willows did.
I mean, I don't necessarily want to argue with you about this, but I do have
But you are going to argue with
I have
me.
a differing opinion. I do have a differing opinion. Like,
Just don't tell me that you don't want to argue with me about this and then argue with me about it. Just argue, man. It's fine.
well, your opinion's valid.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. You can argue with my opinion and still feel like my opinion is valid.
Okay. Well,
But you don't have to tell me that you're not going to do something
No,
that
I'm
you
trying to-
then do.
I'm trying to control
really
you for my own anxiety's
really
sake.
triggers the hell out of my autism.
Yeah.
It's like you just said you weren't going to do it, but you're doing it.
No. Yeah, I was trying to control you for the sake of my anxiety. I don't want you to feel like I don't think your opinion is valid or
Well, you
means
don't
anything to me.
control how I feel.
Well, yeah, I know, but I could just assume, make it seem like I just agree and not share my differing opinion, and then we don't have to think about it. Anyway,
I mean, this is vulnerable stuff right here. This is why I'm
you
are
saying it out
black
loud.
or whiting this. It's like you either don't talk about your disagreement, or you talk about your disagreement and believe that no matter what you're saying or how respectful you are in disagreeing with me, that I am going to feel like my opinion has been invalidated by you.
Well, you might. Possibility
The fact that I
exists.
might makes it a definite in your mind.
Kind of. I have to act as if. Yes.
Right. Which is why you come at me with the, I don't want to argue with your opinion, but I'm going to argue with your opinion.
But like, but
which doesn't help anything.
Well, but you broke me. Completely broken now. I genuinely don't want to be disrespectful of your opinion. I don't want your opinion and me saying a differing opinion to be shitting on it, because it's so often perceived as that. Like, there's so many times out in the world where, like, someone just like, I have this opinion, and someone's like, well, I have this other opinion, and then the first person's like, why do you have to shit on me like that? And it's like, it's a lot of times the second person is like, I wanted to shit on you because you're a piece of shit. And it's like, God damn it, well, people, why can't we just get along? You know? So I just get real sensitive. I don't know that
we've ever done that.
We've not. Well, we've probably had moments. We've been sensitive with each other many times.
Well, I don't know that we've ever gotten to the point where one of us is like, why are you shitting on me? And the other person is like, because you're a shitty person.
No,
like,
definitely.
I don't think that's ever been
we've been pretty respectful towards each other a lot. We've been defensive in such a way that, you know, we did not consider what the other person was feeling.
Sure.
That happens a lot.
It doesn't usually get down to insulting each other for, you know, character flaws, though.
Yeah, but talk about fucking vulnerability. Like, this is what I deal with moment by moment all the time.
I know, and that's kind of what I think people want to hear. Is
why
this kind of stuff?
No,
because they don't do it in their head, or maybe because they do it in their head and nobody talks about it, and you know, there's all sorts of different perspectives that aren't yours. That you know are like. They want to see through your perspective.
Maybe. Well, I don't know.
And sometimes maybe mine.
So, the thing we were talking about, Governor of Poker versus Wandering Willows. I just felt like Wandering Willows was a place that like loaded an area and had to constantly kind of update the area with new information as you completed quests.
It does do that.
And the visuals of Wandering Willows to me are of a higher quality, and I think of a different graphical setting than Governor of Poker also.
You're not wrong.
But, you know...
But when I was playing it on you know, computers, you know, 15 years ago...
Green and silver? Remember right. Green and silver?
Yeah. So when I was playing it on computers long past that we don't have anymore, I remember Governor of Poker working and Wandering Willows having, the opposite. I remember Wandering Willows working fine, except in the cutscenes. The cutscenes were a little janky, but when I went to Governor of Poker, it like was slow.
Yeah, it would struggle.
It struggled.
Struggle bus.
And so I'm not saying that you're wrong. Like the logic you're using there makes perfect sense. But I remember Governor of Poker taking up way more resources.
Yeah.
For whatever reason.
Your anecdotal experience happened. Absolutely.
That being said, it could have been a fluke.
Sure.
It could have been my computer.
Everything's weird.
It could have been a circumstantial thing. I don't know.
Remember Snood?
Oh my God. How could I forget Snood?
Everything was so much simpler when it was just Snood.
Snood reminds me of my grandma.
Yeah. Snood reminds me of your grandma too.
Snood.
Yeah.
Or no, it was beep. Like does this weird beep at the beginning.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the days of Snood. My grandma got addicted to those freaking puzzle games when games were super boring. I don't know what she'd be like now.
I like simplistic games like that too. Like I just jump into stuff.
I have them all over my phone.
I have a few. Anyway, but yeah, just the difficult. Going back to what I was talking about,
right.
Sharing about what happened to me through the week, like just trying to understand myself without having these things that I was planning on doing, like having this like forced break from my creativity. I know I could create in other directions. It's just that I had a direction I was going in, and I'm kind of like it took me so long to build up motivation to move in a direction, and
then the universe smacked you in the face.
Right, and it's like, okay, well, I'll spend the next year and a half getting my motivation back up again.
No.
And it's like I know that doesn't have to be the way it is, and I'm going to try really hard to not make that the way it is. But like that is what has happened up to this point. I have to accept that that's a possibility.
It's a possibility. I remember being there. You remember?
Yeah.
I've been there so many times. Yeah, you're right. Like when you've spent excuse me, when you spent the better part of a year getting up the motivation to do a thing, and then life is just like, no, you don't get to do this. It just smacks you down. And then you're like, so the next one's not going to be for another year.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably how this is going to work.
Right. And I look at this, and this is maybe an extreme thing to say, so, censor what I say. Take what I say with a grain of salt here. But
I'm not censoring you.
I look at that sort of thing, and I realize that, well, I'm taking it to when I look at humanity, there are a billion times in the past where one of those shots was all anyone got. They built up their motivation, or an opportunity was presented to them that they worked towards, and then one misstep, one stumble at the wrong point, and it's just gone.
That's a really nice perspective. Because when you think about it, like when we did only have that one shot per lifetime, people would it would take them sometimes decades to finally get up the courage to do the thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, maybe it takes decades to get the courage to do. I took a drink of tea. That was such a mistake. Maybe it takes people, a few decades to get up the courage to try to do it the first time, and then they get smacked down. No, you're bad. Stop it. But the way technology is now, we have at any moment the ability to try again. And so the next one, it might take them a few years to gather themselves back up, lick their wounds, and try again. But, when I think about it like that, when I think about it like, maybe it took me, the first 20 years, 30 years of my life to finally start trying to do content creation stuff. But then it was like, well, I failed. And then it was like, another couple of years before I tried again. Mm-hmm. And then I failed. And then it was like another year and a half before I tried again. And then I failed. And then it was, so it's like, I get all these different these chances, but also I'm taking less time each time.
Right.
More or less. I think some of them probably had more time in there, but you get better at picking yourself back up.
Right. We have the opportunity with this sort of thing. Because, 100 years ago, to try and shoot your shot was like, I'm going to sell all I have and move to fucking Hollywood or the probably fucking Broadway before that, if that was a thing. Yeah. I don't even know if that was a thing. I have no idea.
And if you didn't succeed, you starved to death.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically. Or we're just homeless and probably froze to death.
And so we're just lucky that we have the opportunity to put our shit out there, put ourselves out there in such a way that if you hit, you hit. There's a few people out there that it hits for. Not everybody, and not very many. It's very, very, very few. But you have the opportunity to present yourself as many times as you want. And so we as humans have the ability now to adapt to that process, to kind of make it to where we're a little bit tougher in a certain regard for the next generation or the generation after that, socially, which I think is necessary. But, we're all sensitive little babies right now. That's why the world is going to shit in a certain regard. But
no, the reason the world is going to shit is because people weren't sensitive. Yeah, we're sensitive because we need to be, because people weren't sensitive and they were fucking everybody over.
Well, they were too weak to be sensitive.
I guess that makes sense.
Well, because at the end of the day, that's what it really is because if you're strong enough to handle being sensitive,
then you can confront it and you can show it. And that's the point of this whole podcast, is that we have reached a place in our own sensitivity, in our own vulnerability, where we feel strong enough to confront it to whoever's listening.
I'm doing my best.
Well,
I'm sorry if I've hurt you.
That's still greater than most.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the idea of people do often think that if you're sensitive, that makes you weak, but you're right. Our sensitivity is because we are stronger. We've endured so much that we have to confront, or that we're strengthened to be capable of confronting the things that our forefathers and mothers could not.
Right. And I'm going to rephrase it a little bit because it's meaningful to me to say it this way. The people that refuse to be sensitive, the people that refuse to be vulnerable, that refuse to tell the truth about who they are, I see them as weak, not as despicable, as less than me. I see them as people that deserve my pity.
Yeah, yeah.
People that deserve my compassion.
Yeah, because they're like babies that never learned how to walk.
And so a lot of times, the people that I'm referring to, there's people in that group that have started wars or perpetuated them. And they would not like hearing me call them weak. But that's
what makes them weak, though.
That does not stop me from pitying them, usually greater than the rest. Because I truly do believe that once, we finish this incarnation, we do get to look at the score. We do get to see our score and see how it relates to others.
I wonder if I beat my high score from the previous time.
We'll see, right? But you also get to see how you related to others, and I think that the people that, just for instance, perpetuate bombing campaigns on lesser franchised peoples intentionally, those people are going to really hurt when they see their score. I think that it's going to be painful, and I feel bad for them for that.
Yeah.
And that might be pretentious and make me seem like I'm trying to be better than people. I'm not intentionally trying to be better than people. I don't think I am better than people, but you can think whatever you want.
Better than or better at. Like I understand. I don't really understand the whole better than. It that perspective makes it seem like there's a different quantity of skill sets inside of each person that are possible based on, you being a man, me being a woman, all other things being equal. Is there supposed to be a difference there? Better than? Nah.
Yeah,
but better at. You can absolutely be better at a thing than I am.
Sure.
We have the same, if all things are equal, we've been on here, on this planet, the same amount of time. Roughly. And we are roughly the same socioeconomic status, because let's be honest, that makes a difference.
Of course it makes a difference.
Not in being better than, but having different opportunities.
The only argument I would make against any of this is how much the differences might mean. Because the differences between you and I do mean something in certain regards, but they're also negligible in certain other regards.
Right. And that's the better at, because they can be meaningful, but they don't mean that you're better than me or that I'm better than you.
No, nobody's better.
They mean you're better at this thing and I'm better at this other thing.
Sure. Yeah.
I
agree with the better than being a bad thing. Like, there's a lot of people out there that don't, though. There's a lot of people out there that truly believe that they are better than other people based on
I won't lie. There is a dark evil part of me that's like, well, I do think that people that develop self-awareness and that can confront their vulnerability without fear, I do kind of feel like they are better than people who can't.
Yeah.
Not in a way that I feel like one deserves more than the other, but kind of a little bit in a way that, like, maybe the people that don't have self-awareness and they can't confront their negative emotions without fear, maybe those people shouldn't be deciding what the world does.
Yeah.
I'm just going to put it out there. I don't have any power to make that happen, but I'm just saying, like, do you really feel that these weaker, less capable people that can't deal with their own minds, do you think that they should be running our planet?
No.
I don't feel like that either. And so in that respect, I do kind of feel that one is better than the other at making things work.
Sure. Understood.
But I mean, they're still all human. They still all deserve happiness. I just think that we need to be more realistic sometimes about what that should mean.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that goes on all different sides. I don't know that has anything to do necessarily with self-awareness or being vulnerable. That's a whole other perspective.
Absolutely. But I think that kind of covers it. I go through things slowly enough, but I have enough things on my plate that I could probably fill a bunch of these podcasts just talking about random shit. So
you should.
We'll see what happens. But I'm pretty set and pretty toasted. So
yeah. All right. So
how are you feeling?
We should probably be finished.
Do you have any final thoughts you wanted to lay on anybody?
Not really.
Cool. Love to hear it. Well, thank you so much, podcast gang, Hidden Egg fam, for hanging out and chilling with us. It's been delightful having you hear our silly voices talking about silly things, and I hope you enjoyed it. I'm Eternally Mortal, and I hope you find smiles this day.
And I'm the Accidental Monster. You can find us both on medium.com. You can check out monsteralley.com or tamonsteralley.com, either one, and find more information on stuff and things. And follow yourself, always.